Well, good morning, everybody, and let me say a couple of notes of appreciation. First of all, to the Prime Minister of Pakistan and to Field Marshal Munir, who were both incredible hosts. And whatever shortcomings in the negotiation, it wasn't because of the Pakistanis who did an amazing job and really tried to help us and the Iranians bridge the gap and get to a deal. We have been at it now for 21 hours, and we've had a number of substantive discussions with the Iranians. That's the good news. The bad news is that we have not reached an agreement, and I think that's bad news for Iran much more than it's bad news for the United States of America. So we go back to the United States having not come to an agreement. We've made very clear what our red lines are, what things we're willing to accommodate them on, and what things we're not willing to accommodate them on. And we've made that as clear as we possibly could, and they have chosen not to accept our terms. I won't go into all the details because I don't want to negotiate in public after we negotiated for 21 hours in private. But the simple fact is that we need to see an affirmative commitment that they will not seek a nuclear weapon, and they will not seek the tools that would enable them to quickly achieve a nuclear weapon. That is the core goal of the President of the United States, and that's what we've tried to achieve through these negotiations. Again, their nuclear program, such as it is, the enrichment facilities that they had before, they've been destroyed. But the simple question is, do we see a fundamental commitment of will for the Iranians not to develop a nuclear weapon, not just now, not just 2 years from now, but for the long term? We haven't seen that yet. We hope that we will. We talked about all those issues, Jen, and we talked about a number of issues beyond that, and so certainly those things came up, but again, we just could not get to a situation where the Iranians were willing to accept our terms. I think that we were quite flexible, we were quite accommodating. The president told us, you need to come here in good faith and make your best effort to get a deal. We did that, and unfortunately, we weren't able to make any headway. Preston. Yeah, obviously, we were talking to the president consistently. I don't know how many times we talked to him, a half dozen times, a dozen times over the past 21 hours. We obviously also talked to Admiral Cooper, to Pete, to Marco, to the entire national security team. We talked to Scott Bessent a number of times. So look, we were constantly in communication with the team because we were negotiating in good faith. And we leave here with a very simple proposal, a method of understanding that is our final and best offer. We'll see if the Iranians accept it. Thank you.
Welcome to Point Pulse, your definitive source for global analysis and geopolitical insights. Tonight, we're taking you inside the high-stakes red zone of Islamabad, where the world's most dangerous rivalry is being put to the test. Stay tuned as we break down the secret deals and shifting power dynamics that could change everything. The eyes of the world have shifted from the traditional power centres of Washington and Geneva to the heavily fortified capital of Pakistan. For the first time in decades, the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran are sitting across from one another, and the stakes could not be higher. We are witnessing what experts are calling the Islamabad Pivot, a high-pressure diplomatic gamble aimed at stopping a regional war from turning into a global catastrophe. But as the motorcades roll through the streets of Islamabad, the narrative is changing. The initial whispers of a grand bargain, a total peace deal that would settle the nuclear issue and lift all sanctions, have hit the cold wall of reality. According to exclusive reports, the goal has shifted. This is no longer about a final handshake. It's about staff-level groundwork and a modest, desperate attempt to just keep the talking going. To understand why this is happening in Islamabad, you have to look at the state of the world in early 2026. After months of naval skirmishes, drone strikes, and a global energy crisis caused by the semi-blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, a fragile 2-week ceasefire was brokered. This summit is the Hail Mary to make that ceasefire permanent. However, the grand bargain everyone hoped for is slipping away. Why? Because the demands on both sides remain fundamentally incompatible. The US delegation is demanding a complete freeze of Iran's nuclear enrichment and an unconditional reopening of global shipping lanes. Tehran, however, is not coming to the table as a weakened player. Led by their parliamentary speaker, the Iranian delegation views this summit as a victory in itself, a sign that the US has accepted that the Iranian system cannot be toppled by force. Their 10-point proposal, which has leaked through various diplomatic channels, is bold, to say the least. The most shocking part of the Iranian proposal involves the Strait of Hormuz. Instead of simply opening the gates, Iran is proposing a new normal. They are suggesting a transit fee for commercial vessels passing through the strait, a move that would effectively turn one of the world's most vital maritime choke points into a Tehran-managed toll road. Rumours suggest a figure as high as $2 million per vessel. To Washington, this is an attack on the freedom of navigation. To Tehran, it is a legitimate security tax for the region they police. Then there is the issue of Lebanon. This is the poison pill that could kill the talks. Pakistan and Iran have been adamant. There can be no peace if the conflict in Lebanon continues. They want a regional ceasefire. But the US position is complicated. Washington is reportedly trying to decouple the two issues, offering to stop strikes on Iranian soil while maintaining the right for operations to continue in Lebanon. Tehran's response has been blunt. There is no room for backtracking. This is where Pakistan comes in. You might wonder why a South Asian nation is the host for a Middle Eastern peace summit. The answer lies in the nuclear mediator role Pakistan has carefully carved out. As a country with a 900-kilometre border with Iran and a long history as a major non-NATO ally to the US, Pakistan is uniquely positioned. The Pakistani leadership has been the silent engine of this diplomacy, providing neutral ground and technical frameworks. It was Pakistan that proposed a monitored nuclear framework involving neutral third-party observers, a compromise that bypassed the usual friction over Western inspectors. But even with this mediation, the goal has become modest. Reports suggest the focus is now on one thing: a deal for a deal. If they can get the US and Iran to agree to a Phase 2, an extension of the ceasefire for another 45 days, it will be considered a success. The strategy has shifted from solving the war to managing it. By moving the talks to the staff level, both sides can argue over technicalities, like the exact coordinates of naval patrols or the specifics of sanctions relief, without the political pressure of a televised all-or-nothing signing ceremony. What happens if this modest goal fails? The alternative is grim. If the Islamabad talks collapse, the 2-week ceasefire will expire, and the conflict will likely enter a much more violent phase. We are talking about a total shutdown of the Strait of Hormuz, which would send oil prices into a vertical climb, potentially crashing global markets. Furthermore, the Islamabad Pivot represents a test of the new multipolar world. If Pakistan can broker even a minor extension of peace, it proves that regional powers can solve crises that traditional alliances cannot. If it fails, it reinforces the idea that the Middle East is destined for a clash of civilizations that no amount of diplomacy can fix. As we watch the updates trickle out of the Serena Hotel in Islamabad, we have to look past the handshakes. The real story is in the groundwork. It's in the 10-point plans, the shipping tolls, and the frantic efforts to keep both sides from walking out of the room. The Islamabad summit may not deliver the deal of the century, but in a world on the brink, a deal to keep talking might be the most important victory we can